From Double J to Triple H, wrestling nerds like a lot of things, but there's something they love above all else, and that is correcting people. This is a special wrestling episode of Actually. Let's get ready to Umble! Joining us today, we have Danielle Radford.
Hi, hello. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on. We have Dan Black.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here, brother.
And we have the urban gladiator, Jay Washington.
I'm very happy to be here.
We're very happy to have you. Well, this is going to be a fun one. I was talking with you all a little bit before we started rolling, but I do think it's worth mentioning before we start for the fans who are inevitably going to get angry at me that I know very, very little about wrestling. This is going to be...
That's pathetic. What are you watching, Mike? I mean...
mostly soap operas.
And not wrestling
is.
Like then you're watching the wrong thing.
It's soap operas with kicking.
I'm almost certainly going to get some stuff wrong here. And in previous episodes, a lot of times after questions, I'll sort of be like, oh, hey, here's an interesting thing. Here's something that I've noticed. In this one, I might actually have just honest questions about like, hey, tell me about wrestling as like a total outsider. Like, tell me like the things that you like about it. Explain this to me as someone who doesn't really know.
Yeah, this is the first day for the rest of your life. This is a beautiful moment for you. Finally learn what's up, man.
Welcome to getting unplugged from the matrix of reality.
The whole new world is going to open up.
The red pill.
So this is actually today an all wrestling. Actually, the rules of this are very simple. You've all played before, but if you're just joining us for the first time, these are a stack of statements. These are incorrect statements, false statements about wrestling. It's up to you to find what's wrong, buzz in, and correct me. All your corrections must be preceded by the phrase actually, Jeopardy style. If you don't say that, I won't give you the point, even if you're right. And you can interrupt me whenever you want. As soon as you hear what's wrong, you can buzz on in. That's pretty much all there is. Is wrestling a real sport? As of this taping, only one professional wrestler has ever appeared on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Andre the Giant on the April 29th, 1985 edition. Dan buzzed in.
Actually, it was Hulk Hogan.
That's correct.
Sports Illustrated.
Yeah,
That's correct. Yeah, and it is true as of this taping, the only wrestler to ever appear on the cover of Sports Illustrated, Hulk Hogan himself.
That's actually pathetic. That's insane.
It still counts as a sport.
Do you more appreciate the sort of like the storyline element of the wrestling, or like the physicality, athleticism of wrestling?
Look, good wrestlers can do both. I need, for me, it's a combination. I need both, like a good story told with words. I need the ish talking. I need all of that stuff. But it's also like, if you are really good in the ring, it's not like an action sequence where just a bunch of things are happening. You're telling a story with your body. And so if you're really good at what you're doing, you can tell these stories where it's, you know, someone gets injured early on and then you're working the arm and then you're working the hand, like all of these different things. So a true, someone who's very, very good at wrestling is able to command both areas.
Yeah, Mike, what's beautiful about pro wrestling, it's time for your enlightening.
I love this.
It's extremely dynamic of an art form. There's not one way to be successful at professional wrestling. It's a land for many talents. So you have wrestlers who are incredible at their, you know, quote unquote work rate, where they're great in-ring talents, and that's what they're amazing at. And a lot of times those guys don't succeed because they don't have the full package. But if you're great enough, you can sucsucceed just on that alone.
But you gotta have charisma. You gotta have charisma.
You have to have charisma, or a manager who's someone who can do your talking for you.
Paul Heyman.
But if you have the charisma, you don't need to wrestle that good.
It does almost feel like
nope, you do not need to wrestle good if you can talk on that mic.
Look, this is no shot to dude. This is really no shot to dude. I'm gonna say this in advance. For the longest, everybody was like, John Cena has 5 moves. Remember, y'all know that everybody kept saying he got 5 moves, but even with those 5 moves of doom, but even with those 5, he became one of the most over superstars in professional wrestling history.
It almost feels like, more than anything else, it is like a charisma competition. Because when you look at, like, you compare, like, it's like, okay, you got one wrestler on the cover of Sports Illustrated, but then how many wrestlers went into politics? How many wrestlers went into movies? How many, you know, like, all these things where it's just like, it's all about, like, attracting that sort of attention, you know?
Mike, I'm so excited to open your eyes to this point. Listen to this, okay?
Great.
Open your third eye, Mike.
If you can do it all, You don't need to do it all to be successful in pro wrestling. You could be the champion. You could have a very nice career. You become a millionaire, okay, by not doing it all. But if you can do it all, you could wear every crown, be athletic, be charismatic, right? All that, be jacked up. You could take over the world. And that's The Rock, right?
That's The Rock.
Yeah.
That is the truth.
That is the highest skill set you can have in America. Okay?
It's Dwayne Johnson.
He took over the world with an elbow. I could throw an elbow.
Which was a mistake, by the way. Which wasn't even supposed to be a real finish. If y'all never heard the story, it was supposed to be just a joke. Him doing the people's elbow was a joke, and it just got over, and he was just like, so if I do this, and people just go, and that's how the people's elbow became. It's the greatest finishing maneuver ever, next to the eye poke of doom.
Mike, do you know what the people's elbow is?
I do not know what the people's elbow is. Dude, I need to stress for you. I know almost nothing about wrestling. I know what I researched on this card.
Wow, Dan. That suit says you don't know nothing about wrestling. Let me tell you something. That jacket says you don't know nothing about walking.
You're not styling and profiling enough, okay?
You look like you auditioned for the Four Horsemen, and they was like, we got a position for baggage boy open. Like, we got
That's a deep cut. I love that. That was beautiful.
Mike, you could wear a sparklier robe as any of the Ric Flairs, okay? Do not let these men tell you.
But only Flair could pull that robe off. Don't do that. Don't you put Trap in those.
I'm being bullied right now, and I don't appreciate it.
You are being bullied right now. I don't like it. I like an underdog,
actively
Mike.
bullying you, and I'll apologize after.
This is why I didn't get into wrestling. They all bully me.
Well, what do you watch? You watch like little Wolverines? What do you watch? Like, the Wolverine movie where he's got his CGI to do cool shit. You know what I mean? Is that what you're watching? He's Captain America.
I mean,
Check out this guy Ricochet. He actually is Captain America.
Hold on. First of all, I'm not putting Trevor as Nightcrawler. That's who he is.
This is all great. We should probably move on because we've got 12 more questions to go through. All right. Well, here we go. We're moving on to our next statement. And this next statement is about...
Ooh, yeah.
The Undertaker. Here we go. The Undertaker is an undead Undertaker who has had multiple personas over his long career, including the Dead Man, American Badass, and Big Evil. Beginning in 1997, The Undertaker would sometimes team up with his brother Kane as the Brothers of Destruction. Jay, what do you have?
Actually, it was 1998 when they started tagging.
Unless I got my research wrong, it is 97. That is correct.
Actually, I don't remember him going by Big Evil.
Yes, he went by it. Yes, he did.
The Undertaker didn't technically go as the Dead Man. That was just something that Jim Ross called him.
I love the guess, but no, that's not right.
Damn.
So the answer that we're looking for here is that Kane is his half brother, and
That
not
was
his
my
full
next
brother.
one. No.
So good.
I'm sorry.
Such a good question.
No. Half brothers are brothers. We don't do halves and steps in this house, sir.
You know how long it's been since anybody mentioned the fact that Paul Bearer is both of their daddies? That's it. And like, we didn't go off that. My son, like, oh, come on. It's the half brother
Mike.
thing.
That's a great question.
Look, I'm looking for little details here. I'm looking for little tiny things.
Now we know how petty these questions are.
Oh,
Let's
they're
do this.
very petty. Well, we'll go ahead and move on to our next statement here. There's nothing like a tag team to really sell your gimmick. Some wrestling tag teams include Male Nuns, the Flying Nuns, Russian Communists, the Bolsheviks, Bell-themed wrestlers, the Ding Dongs, mystery-solving brothers, the Hardy Boys, and clown pair Doink and Dink. Jay.
Actually, ain't no wrestling group named the Ding Dongs.
There is a pair called the Ding Dongs, which are a pair of Bell-themed wrestlers.
The Hardy Boys are not mystery themed. Those are the guys from the novels. The Hardy Boys are extreme themed.
Danielle, you did not say actually.
Oh, damn it.
Well, I had the same answer as Danielle. She has a quicker buzzer finger. But yeah, actually, the Hardy Boys they're brothers that have the last name Hardy, Jeff and Matt, two extreme gentlemen, and they're not mystery detectives like in the books. They're different
That's
from
true.
the
That's
art.
what I
I
didn't hear.
don't want. I mean, I would love to see them try to solve a mystery.
No.
But and look,
No.
all
No.
wrestlers have been hit in the head too often. So, and that's not their fault.
I honestly think that's excellent. I would love to see it's like after 20 concussions, a pair of people try to solve a mystery and just can't even get out of the corner. It's like, what's going on? I can't believe that that there hasn't been any sort of like legal questioning from whoever publishes the Hardy Boys as being like, hey, you can't do this. We already
They
have
spell
this.
it with a Z, my friend.
Yep, they change
It's
it
their
to a Z.
name, and they
Do you
spell
think
it with a
that's
Z.
You know what? If that's enough for them to get away with it,
is.
I love that. That's great. That's
Well,
perfect.
also because their last name's actually Hardy.
Yeah,
right?
it's actually
Sure, they have
hard.
like a
So-
They
clone
can do.
too.
Remember, his name was originally just Hulk, not Hulk Hogan. Marvel actually sued the WWE because Hulk Hogan was actually just Hulk. And
Oh,
they were
wow.
like, no. And so he became Hulk Hogan.
That's great.
He has like a lifetime deal with Marvel, right?
Does he get
Yeah,
that
I think
taken
something like
away,
that, yeah.
like pageant style? Do you get that taken away if it's like you are not living up to the name of the Hulk?
Well, you're not gonna like either of them when they're angry. I mean,
Well, we'll go ahead and move on. Danielle knew that one, but unfortunately, Dan swooped that. That happens sometimes. This will bring us to a fan question for this one. This is a question submitted to us from one of our viewers. DDT Pro Wrestling's comedic Iron Man Heavy Metalweight Championship is defended under 24/7 rules, meaning it is being defended at all times against everything and everyone, provided a referee is present to confirm a title change. This has resulted in some bizarre champions. Official one-time champions include an inanimate ladder, a chair, a taxi driver, a chef, a Hello Kitty doll, a beer can, a blow-up love doll, a bus, a camera crane, a Spider-Man cosplayer, an entire live audience, and the title belt itself. Dan.
Actually, a ladder didn't win that. Come on, everybody knows that, man.
That is incorrect, but you're in the right area.
It was a animated ladder. It was not inanimate.
That is incorrect, but an excellent guess.
Oh man.
Actually, a ladder has won multiple times. It has not only been once that a ladder has won.
That is correct.
What?
We'll give that point to Danielle, which feels also cosmically fair to swoop it from Dan. In fact, all of the champions listed are official champions, but the fact that they were stated to be one-time champions is incorrect. Ladder is actually a 3-time champion, and a blow-up doll named Yoshihiko is actually not only a 16-time DDT Iron Man Heavy Metalweight champion, but an otherwise accomplished DDT wrestler. That question came to us from Lexon. Thank you, Lexon. This question legitimately made me laugh when I read it, so I knew I had to include it.
Perfect question. Like really exactly it captures the point of this game.
Absolutely.
Really good.
Well, this will bring us to our first shiny question of the game. Shiny questions, like shiny Pokemon, are worth the same number of points. They're just a little bit different and a little bit rarer. So this is a game on wrestling lingo. So wrestling is very jargon heavy. There's lots of terms for lots of different things. So what I'm going to do for this game is I have here 7 definitions of a piece of a wrestling term. These all come to us from David Shoemaker's Grantland article, the Grantland Dictionary Pro Wrestling Edition. So if there's something wrong with my definition, take it up with David Shoemaker. And thank you, David Shoemaker, for this unauthorized reproduction of your definitions. So what I'm going to do is one at a time, we're going to go through those. You're going to see some definitions up here, and I'm going to ask you for the word that definition relates to. And then whoever can identify the most of these will get the 1 point for this question.
Oh, Lord, have mercy.
Let's take a look at that first one. The definition is to break your opponent's ankle or arm by placing it between the seat and headrest of a steel chair and jumping or stomping on it. Danielle.
It's called a fake Siguri.
No, not what I'm looking for.
Chair spot.
No, not what I'm looking for either. The word we were looking for was pillmanize. Pillmanize.
Pillman!
Let's take a look at our next definition here. This is a match that ends in chaos rather than in a decisive finish, usually due to a number of wrestlers not involved in the match running in and preventing a clean finish. That was the Urban Gladiator Jay Washington, followed very closely by Dan.
It is either known as a cluster F or F finish.
I might be willing to count that because there are two like very similar terms that kind of describe the same thing.
I know what it is, though.
Okay, so I'll hear.
Okay.
I'll count it unless Dan has
being
the word.
competitive.
All right.
It's a schmoz.
That's a
Or
schmaz.
dusty finish.
I'm looking for schmaz is the term I'm looking for.
That's a schmaz, baby.
I should have said dusty finish, but I'm like,
You should have said dusty finish. That's what I was going to say.
To be fair, I know Dave Shoemaker, and he loves to say schmaz. So I know he's a big schmaz guy. So
Huge schmaz guy. Let's listen to our next definition here. This is an unintentional or accidental real shot to the head during a match. That is Jay first, followed by Danielle.
what is a shoot?
That's not the term I'm looking for, although it could be right. Saltzman, if you're able to check me on any of these, because I want to be able to count things that are like alternate terms.
Oh my God. Okay. I know what it is now.
I'm going to give Danielle a shot because she buzzed in just shortly behind you, and we can loop back around to you.
An intentional or accidental real shot to the head during a match is a headshot.
That's not what I was looking for, actually.
Busted open the hard way.
Hard way. Hard way's a
That
good
was what I was
guess.
looking for, but let's check out these. You sound very confident in what you're saying, and again, I'm only pulling from this one specific article.
A hard way is if you want someone to bleed, but you don't want to necessarily blade them, or use any of the tricks, and so you do it like on purpose, where you're like, I'm gonna really hit you hard enough. So
I'm
that
going to
you
really
bleed.
make you bleed. It's the hard way.
You know what? You're saying with enough confidence, and Danielle's agreeing with you that I'm going to kind of like go by committee, and I'm gonna
give it to Jay.
Hard way is good.
Jay,
Hard way's
we'll
good.
count that. I was looking for potato. Potato is what I was.
That's a
looking for.
fist. That's a fist. That's a hard fist to the face. Because when black men ball their fist up, if it's ashy from a match and they didn't oil up, I'm dead ass serious. This is old wrestling lingo. It looks like a rusted potato. That is what a potato is.
Whoa.
That is a very specific kind of.
No, but that's why
racism.
that's
I
how we
like it.
called it, because black wrestlers older black wrestlers called it that back in the day, because you didn't see black wrestlers in back in the day always super shiny. They just put on their gear and went out. And so if you looked at their fists and their knuckles with the ash on it, it looked like a potato.
Was there not cocoa butter back then? We'll talk later.
Super interesting piece of trivia there. Let's take a look at our next definition. This is the area behind the curtain atop the entrance ramp from which management often watches the show. And you've all buzzed in very quickly.
I'm second.
That was
That's
Jay,
so
then Dan, then Danielle.
Gorilla.
Damn
That's
it.
Gorilla, yes.
That's Gorilla.
That will go to
That's
Jay.
Gorilla.
All right, let's listen to the next one. This is career losers or nobodies sent out just to be punching bags for their opponents. You've all buzzed in again
last
very
on the-
quickly. Once again, Jay is first on the
Jobbers.
buzz. We're looking for jobbers. Yes, that's
Jobbers.
right. Let's take a look at that next definition. This is a questionable rule by which a trio can defend tag team titles with any two of their three members.
Come on.
You've all
I-
buzzed in
I-
again. Dan is
I
first.
said this earlier.
Damn it!
That's the Freebird rule.
That is the Freebird rule.
Nonsensical wrestling bullshit, and I love it.
That's so good. I love the
But it's
Freebird
dope
rule.
when you actually think about it. Like, you have a trio, and at any point in time, if you had the original two that won it
swap
and one
around.
gets hurt, you just swap them out.
Yeah, but it makes no sense because those aren't the guys who won.
Hey, bro, let me tell you
matter.
something. You shut your
Free-
face.
Freebird
Let me tell you
rules,
something. I got
baby.
to live by the Freebird rule in IWA Mid-South when Acid Jazz got hurt. Because we was all part of the Soul Touches. It was Jazz and Marche. Jazz broke his ankle in a match. Ian Rodden was like, so you going in? I was like, yep, I got my gear in the car.
I love it says a questionable. It's a questionable rule. It says it in the question.
I love
Well,
the Freebird
currently,
rule.
Jay, you've identified 3. Dan, you've identified 2. We've got one more term here. So let's take a look at this last one. A catch-all term for an arbitrary tool used to fill in a hole in an angle, usually used when the tool is still undefined. Danielle and the Urban Gladiator, Jay Washington, is all buzzed in. Danielle.
I am unobtainable.
Awesome guess. No, that's not what we're looking for. Jay.
Obtainium is what you meant.
A gimmick.
Gimmick is not what we're looking for, but I totally like Jay. You look a little stunned.
Yeah, because every time, again, let's say Triple H is using the sledgehammer in the match. When he's pull back the curtain, when they're working it out, he's going to say, I'm going to go under the rope, get the gimmick, hit you, boom, boom. The term is gimmick.
The term we were looking for was Zabada. It feels like a reworking of like yada, 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 or something like that, where it's like,
Zabada,
you get
Zabada,
this, Zabada, you grab the Zabada, you do the thing. Saltzman, you have a point of...
Well, yeah, 2 things. First of all, you're actually 100% right about where Zabada comes from. It is like, I just don't know what to say here, so I'm going to say Zabada. That's like where it comes from. But Jay is also 100% correct. Even in the wiki for gimmick in professional wrestling, it says it is also a term used for using like a yet undefined object that's going to be used in the match.
Awesome, great. That will go to Jay. Either way, Jay gets the point.
Gimmicks are also called cosmetic enhancements. If anyone talks about their cosmetic enhancement, they might refer to those as their gimmicks.
Or your gimmick is your character.
Well, gimmick you can use kind of in general. I mean,
yes, you can.
Stone Cold Steve Austin will use gimmick to talk about his car keys.
I had to go grab the gimmick off the table real quick,
Grab car keys gimmick.
I went down to Ralph's and got the gimmick in organic. What?
Get the oat milk gimmick.
It's like talking to a Smurf, where just like every noun is replaced by Smurf, but it's just gimmick. All right, here's our next one. If you want an over-the-top gimmick, then you want the Boogeyman. The Boogeyman is a monstrous figure from the bottomless pit who recited nursery rhymes and carried an oversized clock. He would also fill people's mouths and clothing with worms and would himself eat actual live worms and crickets during the matches. The Urban Gladiator Jay Washington has buzzed in.
Actually, he never recited nursery rhymes.
He would recite these weird little rhymes, yeah.
Actually, he only ate worms. There's no crickets.
That's correct. That's what we were looking for.
Yep.
Okay.
I watched the Boogeyman is one of the dopest looking wrestlers. And he would just eat those worms. It was insane. If you have not seen the Boogeyman eat worms, it's mind-blowing.
Have you ever heard the story about it? How it happened?
Crickets have too much protein. That's
people make chocolate out of crickets.
But with Boogeyman, it was something that Vince was just like they were throwing around for the gimmick. Like, yo, how about you eat worms? And because he knew he already wasn't supposed to be there, because if we all remember his Tough Enough appearance, he was just like, bet, I'm going to go for it, and was eating real worms. And Vince was like, I love it. He's got to stay on TV. Get him worms every city.
He's going to puke.
I'll add to about this. Apparently, he proposed that he would eat crickets and roaches and other bugs, and wanted to add more things other than worms. But the wrestling venues themselves had in the contracts there were infestation clauses where it's you can't bring bugs in here. They're gonna get out and infest their place with roaches. So the only thing he was allowed to eat was worms.
It's good for the soil under the arena.
Yeah, we could start a nice garden.
But can you imagine traveling to every city and I need to find the nearest pet shop.
Where do you keep your bait?
Yeah, he's like, Charlotte, North Carolina, they have the tastiest worms. Dude, Jay, can you imagine the Boogeyman? He gets a rental car and he just fills the trunk with soil.
As soon as he get back to Enterprise, they'd be like, so how was the car, sir? Man, it held up very well.
And that's 1 point for Dan. Well, we'll move on to our next statement here. The E in WWE stands for entertainment, so it's no surprise that many entertainers with no other wrestling experience have appeared in professional wrestling matches. Celebrity appearances include David Arquette, Dennis Rodman, Jay Leno, Dolph Lundgren, Mickey Rourke, Snooki, Jon Stewart, and Ben Stiller. Danielle and Dan have both buzzed in.
Actually, David Arquette's a wrestler, my dude. He has won the WCW title. He does not count as being just a celebrity. I'm sorry. He's a wrestler and he's wrestling now.
This is true.
That might not be your answer,
you know
but
that's
100% right. That's 100%
David
right.
Arquette's a wrestler.
I'll give you the point for that. That wasn't what I was aiming for, but that
is a
you know what?
whole
That's a
wrestler
very
now.
good point.
I think I know what your answer is, though.
He's like a deathmatch wrestler. He is not messing around.
Dan, what were you going to say something?
I think I might be wrong, but actually, I don't think Ben Stiller ever showed up to pro wrestling.
He has, yeah. There is
So it'd be Jay Leno has never showed up to pro wrestling.
Jay Leno has.
No, Jay Leno has in
he has?
WCW.
Yep.
But I
Yep.
don't remember Dolph Lundgren ever being. Actually, I don't remember Dolph Lundgren.
That's what we were looking for. Yeah, we were looking for
Yes.
Dolph Lundgren.
I didn't
has
remember
never
Dolph
actually.
or Ben Stiller.
I don't remember Jay Leno.
At WCW, he showed up with the Dennis Rodman around then.
But yeah, Dolph Lundgren has never showed up.
I want to know when Ben Stiller showed up because I'm curious when he would show up for Along Came Polly.
Oh
my God.
He's with D-Lo.
It was in 1999 that he showed up.
You know what? I'll say this as a Jewish man, all the Jewish guys show up to wrestling. All the Jon Stewart, their kids go through the phase. All Jewish kids go through a phase where they wish they had more power, and better physiques, and then their kids really get into wrestling.
Point for Danielle for that one. We'll move on to our next statement here. Foreign objects, or as they were briefly called in the WCW, outside objects, refer to any object introduced into the match. Officially, use of foreign object on another wrestler is grounds for immediate disqualification, but in practice, foreign objects play an important role in establishing a wrestler's brutality, setting up heel turns, or reinforcing a gimmick, as with Triple H's sledgehammer, Jeff Jarrett's guitars, or Jake the Snake Roberts' snakes. Jay.
Actually, foreign outside objects were called that in both WCW, WWE, and everywhere.
You've kind of found what I'm looking for, but you don't have the specific right.
I think they would say foreign objects in WCW as well. I don't remember outside outside objects personally. I always heard foreign objects.
You're both kind of dancing on the same thing, but you haven't said the specific correction I'm looking for.
I think I could be wrong, but I believe that instead of saying foreign object in WCW, they said foreign item.
You're like getting on the right track.
Damn it.
It is the thing, but that's not what I was looking for. What I was looking for, as I said briefly in the WCW, foreign objects were called outside objects. But in fact, for a brief time, they were called international objects. And this is because Ted Turner, who owned CNN, had put out a memo saying that, more specifically geared towards CNN, but saying across all networks, across all Turner properties, we should not say foreign anymore. We should say international. Of course, trying to refer to foreign countries, foreign nationals, things like that. But the WCW either misunderstanding or intentionally trying to fuck with the idea of political correctness started calling them international objects. That's what I was.
I knew that. Damn it.
He's got an international pop can. He's gonna hit him.
Oh God, it's an international object. What is happening?
All right, this will bring us to our second shiny question here. This is a game we're calling Gimmick Change. So we're going to go through a series of slides with the idea that, sometimes wrestlers will go through multiple personas. They'll have different things that they'll be trying out over their long careers. Now, on each of these slides, I'm going to show you, you're going to see at least one or more gimmicks from a wrestler or pair of wrestlers, but there's a gap somewhere in this stretch of gimmicks. I want you to fill that in with the missing gimmick, if you will. As before, whoever can get the most will get the point for this shiny. Let's take a look at this first one. Jay.
The Bushwhackers.
That is the Bushwhackers.
Damn it.
All right, let's take a look at our next slide here. What's the missing one here? Jay, you buzzed in.
Shockmaster.
It's not Shockmaster. That's not what we're looking for here.
No.
Tugboat's the Shockmaster, right?
Yeah.
Danielle, you've buzzed in.
Cheeseburger.
No, not cheeseburger. Let's take a look at the answer here. It's Golga.
He was Golga?
He was Golga. Let's take a look at our next one. Jay, once again, very fast.
King Mabel.
That's not what I'm looking for, no.
It's Viscera.
It is Viscera, yes,
it's
that is right. Let's take a look at the next one. Dan.
Actually, it was Cactus Jack.
That is correct. We're looking for Cactus Jack.
Yes, it is.
Although, as a brief note, in the 1998 Royal Rumble, Mick Foley appeared as all three simultaneously.
Yeah, it is.
It was the greatest transformation ever, though, to watch that.
Let's take a look at our next one. That is Jay buzzing in.
Papa Shango.
Yep.
That is Papa Shango.
Dude, how did I not?
If you look at this progression, it does sort of feel like one of these things doesn't belong a little bit, like in terms of just like getting like very sort of like supernatural in the middle and then kind of like dropping out of that.
Well,
and then you're a pimp.
And then you're a pimp. And they had to change his music because they was like, we can't keep saying, come on, the whole train when he comes to the ring. Because that's literally what his music started off. Come get on the whole train. Everybody was like, I can't do that no more.
The 90s.
And let's take a look at that last slide. Dan has buzzed in.
Damn it.
I know what it is.
I don't know. I'll just say Big Daddy Cool, which I know is not the answer.
It's not the answer we're looking for, so it now
who
goes.
is this?
It goes to Danielle as the second to buzz in.
Actually, I'm probably wrong too. Big Sexy?
Nope.
That's not what we're looking
that's
for. No,
Diesel.
Jay's wiggling in his seat.
Oz.
Jay, do you have it?
Oz.
That's Oz. Or looking for Oz.
Yeah, that's Oz.
That's a really hard one, man. You went like pre-Diesel, Kevin Nash.
Pre-Vinny Vegas.
So many, and it's clearly like the silliest one on here. You know what I mean? And I don't think it was very long lived.
Well, and it's like one of those things where Kevin Nash could still get it by many women today if you're judging by Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Him being at Magic Mike.
Yo, by the way, you could include between Diesel and Kevin Nash if you wanted. You could include Super Shredder.
Yes, you could.
Super Shredder in
That's
the
right.
Ninja Turtles
Teenage Mutant
movie.
Ninja Turtles too.
In that very brief scene where I believe like a deck collapses on him.
And that's a point for Jay. Here's our next statement. No Holds Barred is an action film produced by the World Wrestling Federation in which established wrestler Hulk Hogan faces off against Nemesis Zeus. Though Zeus did not exist in the real world before the movie was scripted, the WWF introduced him as a real wrestler in a promotional match aptly named No Holds Barred, The Match, The Movie, in which real-life Hogan and Zeus wrestled for the first time. Danielle.
He was credited as Zeus in the movie, but when they wrestled, he was credited by his full name, which is Tiny Zeus Lester. Or Zeus Tiny Lester?
That's not what I'm looking for, but you also didn't say actually. So
damn it.
It's actually that I think it's a tag match that they wrestle in WWF, right? Isn't it at Survivor Series?
No, that's not what we're looking for.
But they didn't go one-on-one because they didn't go one-on-one in that match.
The World Wrestling Federation did not produce that movie.
They actually did.
They did. Vince wrote it. Vince wrote that movie with Hogan. They were all coked up. They wrote it in one night.
That sounds about right then. Never mind.
What I was looking for was, I said this was the first time Hogan and Zeus wrestled was in No Holds Barred, The Match, The Movie. But that was actually the last time Hogan and Zeus wrestled. There were a few other matches leading up to No Holds Barred, The Match, The Movie. And this was the culmination of that. Dan,
their first match was a tag match. I
couldn't tell if that's what you were getting at or not.
I got the, oh my God, trap.
I'm going to give you the point, Dan. I think that you were getting the right thing there. So I'll give it to you. We'll give you the point for that one, and we'll move on to our next statement here. In 2016, as part of the Divas Revolution, the Divas Championship was replaced with the WWE Women's Championship at WrestleMania 32, in both name and title history. The inaugural WWE Women's Championship was awarded to Ashley Flair, wrestling under the name Charlotte Flair. The current title holder is Asuka. Jay.
Actually, it was only Charlotte.
Damn.
She wasn't using her father's last name.
Under the name Charlotte, she wasn't Charlotte Flair.
I would like to argue. I have an argument here.
Of course you would, Dan.
They do call her Charlotte Flair,
but she's not introduced as Charlotte Flair. She's not introduced as Charlotte Flair. She's introduced as Charlotte.
That one's gonna go to Jay, and we're gonna move right along. So this is a game called What's Wrong with This Picture? We have taken an image related to wrestling and we've changed something about it. The first person who can identify what's wrong with it will get the point, what we have changed. What's wrong with this picture? Jay, you buzzed.
Whoever's next to Sasha Banks is not actually at WrestleMania 30.
Oh, is that Mike?
It looks
Sasha
like
Banks?
Mike, right?
Yeah, it's Mike Trapp in there.
Yeah, that is just me. We have put my face into WrestleMania. I was not actually
at Bobby Roode.
Let's see the original image.
Glorious.
I thought that was the honky tonk man.
I was not actually at WrestleMania. Look at that stupid face. There's no way that guy knows anything about wrestling, let alone competing at WrestleMania. Well, that point will go to Jay, and we only have one last question here. As always, this concerns real-life skills, so it has nothing to do with wrestling. It's just something that might be valuable in day-to-day life. So it's not worth anything more, but it may be more bragging rights because you maybe know what's going on in your day-to-day life. You don't have to be a wrestler to have an injury. A dislocated shoulder, sometimes called a separated shoulder, occurs when the bone of your humerus pops out of your shoulder socket. A doctor should reposition the arm bone as soon as possible to avoid swelling and prolonged pain. Applying ice, using a sling, and taking anti-inflammatory painkillers will help you recover. Surgery is only necessary in severe circumstances. That was Dan just narrowly beating out Jay.
You said I'm actually a bone, but I think it's I'm actually the injury is to the tendon.
You're not quite there. Let me see what Jay has to say. I think Jay may have it. Jay, what do you have?
Actually, a separated shoulder is in the joint and the socket.
You're both really close. You're not quite wording it right, but you're both at the right thing. I'll go ahead and I'll reveal the answer here, and then you can just fight it out forever. What I said was a dislocated shoulder, sometimes called a separated shoulder, but a dislocated shoulder and a separated shoulder are actually two very different injuries. A dislocated shoulder is what I described here, where the bone comes out of the socket. A separated shoulder is when you tear the ligaments that are connecting the collarbone to the shoulder blade, which is what sounds like what Jay was describing, which can cause your collarbone to shift out of position.
So none of them get a point.
Yeah, they're technically. I agree with Danielle.
All right. Well, I think what we'll do here, those are both close. They both weren't quite right, though. I think we'll do a shared title here. We'll say that no one gets the point for this one. That means Jay and Dan are tied with 4 points, making them co-title holders for this one. And that means Danielle takes second place no matter what.
Something?
Yes.
In true wrestling fashion, if you go throughout this video, you could see me and Jay working together in a delicate dance, just like pro wrestlers. The competition the whole time. time was scripted. It was choreographed.
And this is how a pro wrestler actually looks at him like he's stupid and like.
Well, thank you so much. This was a great episode, start to finish. Great conversation with all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for watching. You can join us next time for even more pedantic corrections right here on Actually.